Hello, my friends. My name is Jeff Birchall. I'll be getting started in just about 1 minute. So give me just 1 minute. I'm going to turn off my background noises and we'll get going. All right. Welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. I'm going to give it just a second more before I get going here. Once again, my name is Jeff Birchall. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time. And I'm going to share with you some stuff tonight that a journey I've been through, how I was able to use these 3 simple steps I'm going to share tonight to take back my life and how you can do it as well. So, all right, it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, 3 steps to taking back your life. We'll get to that in just a few minutes, but that's what you can expect to get from this tonight. I'm going to share a little bit about myself first and how I got here and where I'm at and where I'm going. 3 years ago, almost to this day, I found myself at one of the hardest points in my life. We live out here in Shawnee, Oklahoma. It's an apartment in a shop. And 3 years ago, I planted my first garden. We did the square foot garden things. And we have a little bench out front. It was a warm, sunny day. And I had just received news about a diagnosis of a medical test my son had. And at the time, I didn't know what to do with that information. I found myself sitting out on a bench and I could hardly breathe. I could hardly think. My head was spinning. I couldn't hardly see straight. And I remember the sun being warm that day and the red metal building behind me, and I could feel the warmth coming off of the wall behind me. I could smell the tomato plants in the garden a few feet from me. And all these things were so vivid. I can still remember them like it was yesterday. What I had no idea was what to do with what was going on. I felt completely out of control. I felt like I was in a position that I didn't know if I was ever going to get back from. I didn't know what to do. And to back up a little, give you a little background on this, I come from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm not a native Oklahoman, and coming out and living in the country outside of Oklahoma cities was quite an adjustment for me. I grew up in Las Vegas. I worked for a sign company for many years. I was a draftsman, and I worked in a dark room, kind of like my dark office now. And I never really interacted with people other than people within the company. Moved out here to Oklahoma for a little while and met my wife. We went back to Las Vegas and got married, and that's where my son was born. And I had a good career as far as a job goes. The company I worked for was an awesome company. What I was doing was a really unique thing. We built signs that went above slot machines for casinos, so it was different. When it comes, the sign business is a pretty unique business in itself. But what I did was really unique, and it was fulfilling. But it was also very challenging because it was lots of hours, lots of overtime, lots of time away from my family. We relocated up to Utah for a short period of time. And while in Utah, one day, my son, we picked him up from daycare, and he was really swollen. His face was really swollen up, and I thought it was allergies. I've had allergies my entire life. So we took him to the doctor, and the doctor said, take him to emergency now. Something's wrong with either his kidneys or his heart. So we rushed him to the hospital, and that's when we first discovered that he has a little challenge with his kidneys. And at that time, we didn't know what it was. They gave it a generic term. So we ended up going back to Las Vegas, and we knew that being there wasn't right for us because we were there all by ourselves. I grew up there, but over time, all my family left Las Vegas, and we needed to get back to Oklahoma. That's where our parents were. That's where our family was. So we set a goal. We put it to paper by a certain date that we would be out of Las Vegas and back here to Oklahoma, and with help from our family and just putting the notion out there, we made it happen. I went to that company and I asked them, or I basically told them I was resigning, and they actually let me work from home. So I had a period of time that I got to work from home here in Oklahoma, and that's what I was doing at that point when I found myself out on that bench. We got here, we got my son into the OU Children's Hospital here in Oklahoma that has one of the best pediatric nephrology units for kidneys in America. And that morning, I can still remember, like I said, the sun coming down and just feeling almost hopeless. I was barely holding on. And I knew I had to make some changes in my life. I knew I had to stop going the direction I was going and make a complete 180, make a complete change, not just in what I was doing, but basically fundamentally who I was. So first things I started doing was I turned off the news, turned off the TV. I was real big into talk radio up to that point. And I just shut it all off. And I started seeking out different mediums that were more inspiring, more motivational, more uplifting. And and that's how I was able to kind of start a new journey. And I'm going to go back to that in just a minute. I'll explain more in just a second. But to give you, some ideas also of how this all came together. Many years ago, I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And from that point, the entrepreneur bug hit me or bit me, Um, it was something that when I learned that there was different ways to make money outside of just being an employee, once you realize that you can create pipeline incomes, that you can create residual incomes, that you can build assets that pay you, all of a sudden a job has a whole different look. It almost feels like chains, like constraints that are holding you back from what you really want to do in life, your true potential in your life. I've always liked helping people. I always liked training people and teaching. Anything I knew, I always liked to share. I forgot my water. Darn it. Oh well, I'm gonna go on here. So, um, part of being an entrepreneur, is helping other people. Whether you're building a business online or offline a traditional business, your focus has to be on people, right? And I don't know any millionaires or anybody that's successful or wealthy that got there without helping other people, without providing a service of value, providing some type of value to the marketplace in return, gave them their income, gave them their wealth or whatever it may be, right? I mean, we live in a world of people. That's the main thing. I used to be one of those people that said things like, I hate people, I hate being in crowds. And I didn't realize at the time, because I hadn't done any personal development, but just those thoughts were actually hurting me, were holding me back, and not allowing me to become the person that I actually needed to be. And maybe that challenge, maybe that morning when I found myself out on the bench, feeling almost hopeless and unable to breathe, was what I needed to realize that my true purpose on this earth was not to sit in a drafting room. It was not to build signs for casinos, that go above slot machines that, I mean, in general, keep people poor. And sure, I don't really have anything against gambling, and I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm saying that there are certain people that it does hurt, right? It doesn't do them good by going and spending all their paycheck at the casino. Like we used to say back in Las Vegas, those multi-billion-dollar resorts aren't built on winners, right? They're built on people losing their money. So when I started going through this with my son and realized that, the idea that I needed to start paying it forward, I needed to do something more to contribute back to people, or contribute to somebody or to people in general, because who knows if one day I might need help myself, if there might be a point when I need a hand up. So I wanted to do something right then. I wanted to give anything I could at that moment. Really, all I could give was the the skills and share the passion that I have for small business, because I'm very passionate about small business. I think that, what would this world be without the small business owners? What would our economy be without the people that provide jobs and provide resources? And it's that's also why I enjoy this time business. Is why I enjoy what I do today, because I help small business owners. So being so what I did is, first off, like I mentioned, I shut off the news and shut off that kind of information. And I first off had to identify this problem, and the problem was that my thoughts were all screwed up. My programming was, my wires were crossed. My programming was bad. I had viruses running in my system, and it's okay if we think about our minds kind of like a computer, because computers are based on the human mind. They're based on the way we process information. If you know anything about NLP, or neuro linguistic programming, a lot of that talks about programming your mind or deleting past programs and installing new ones. It's very easy to relate our mind to a computer. It kind of gives you something to think about, or something, a reference, right? So I had all these bad programs running in my mind, and I had no way to deal with that information. I had no way to process what was going on, because I'd never been through anything like that. It was my first child, my son. I have 2 kids now. I have my son he'll be 8 here in a little bit. My daughter just turned 3, and they're the light of my life, right? They're the inspiration. They're my why. They're my passion. I love them more than I can put in words. And if you have kids, I'm sure you know what I mean there. It changes you. When first time I looked in his little blue eyes, all of my wants, needs, and desires changed to focus on what can I do for him. What are his wants and needs and desires going to be in his life, and how can I provide that for him? How can I put him on that right path, and make sure he grows up to be a productive part of society, and contributes, right? I think that's, as parents, that's a big thing that we want. We want our children to contribute. And so there I was, not knowing how to deal with this as a first-time parent. Or I was only we were only 3 years into it when this started. He was only 3 years old. And the first thing I did was that I identified that, what I was listening to, what I was putting into my mind wasn't helping. So I jumped on iTunes, and I got some iPod or podcasts, and I went to Zig Ziglar. I'd heard Zig in the past, and motivational speaker and inspirational speaker. And I didn't really know what I was looking for, but I knew that there's something about his southern drawl that I could listen to him. I could sit and download his audios and listen to his voice. And then he started telling me stories. And I listened, and I started gaining a little bit of hope. I started gaining a little bit of belief as he told me, little stories about, like the story of the sailor, the young sailor, and it was his first time out to sea, and the squallows were coming in. The sea was getting rough, and they told him to go to the top of the mast, and so he could look out. And he gets up to the top, and I believe it's the crow's nest. It's been a while since I've heard the story. And he's looking down, and his eyes are starting to go blurry. He's losing his footing. And from below, down at the deck, an old-time sailor yells up to him, "Look up, young man, look up." And he looks up, and he regains his posture. He regains his sight. He regains his footing. And I remember that story because as I was sitting there on that bench, and almost to the point of blacking out, at times I just remembered to look up. And I'd look up into the sky, and I'd take a deep breath, and a little bit of hope would come back. I'd look up again, take a deep breath, and a little more hope would come back. For several days, I found myself just stopping and looking up in the sky, or not even with my eyes closed, looking up and hearing that story. And I continued to listen to Zig. I downloaded more. I think I downloaded every single podcast that he had available at that time. And I heard something that really, really changed me. And it was this. Zig told me, I can have everything I want in life if I just help enough other people get what they want. And that's when I knew that I had to pay it forward. I had to do something more to give people an opportunity to maybe get where they were right now. They say that our best thinking got us to where we are right now. And if you want more out of life, you got to get better thinking. Well, where I was at that point sucked. It was awful. So I wanted out. I needed some better thinking. And I decided that I was going to pay it forward. And when I was very young, when I was about 12 years old, I for the first time saw one of those whiteboard presentations of the circles on the whiteboard. And maybe you've seen one, maybe you haven't. But it gave me an idea. It gave me an idea that there's a different way to do business, that even a guy who had limited resources, I didn't have the ability to go out and rent a big shop space and open a business, but I had an opportunity. I had the ability to get online and find an online business that I could work from home, that I could do part-time alongside with my drafting job that I was doing from home. At that time, I was fortunate enough to to have the opportunity to telecommute, and I had a computer and I was there. So why not utilize it? Why not find something to start creating an income online that's based not on particularly a service or a product, but on helping people. And that's really what I love about what I do. That's why, if you get my blog posts, if you've been following along with me, um, that's why I make those videos, and that's why I write the blog posts. That's why I've been doing this for as long as I've been doing. I'm coming up on 3 years, and it's been incredible. Incredible ups and incredible downs. I'm not gonna lie. When you get into home business, a lot of people get in with this misconception that you're going to just click a button and wake up tomorrow morning with $1 million in your bank account. That's just not true. Even with the very best system out there, even with the best product out there, the best company, it takes work. All right. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be real here. And if I mention anything about money tonight, there's an income disclaimer at the bottom of my page that you're watching this on. And I encourage you to go ahead and click that, because I want to be honest with you. I want to be truthful with you. I want you to know that it's a process. What I'm doing things today that honestly a few years ago I would have never believed that I'm able to do today. I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss today. I do two different things, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But if I wouldn't have made the decision to at least start, then I wouldn't have the ability to make the decisions I have today. And that's really, if anything, make a decision. Make a decision that you're sick and tired of where you're at, and you want more out of life, and that you want to have the ability to make change. That's the first thing you have to decide. So I started with a company, and it was a food company. Like I mentioned, I lived in Utah for a little bit. So food storage in Utah is a big deal if you've ever lived there, or you live there yourself now. So the company I found was a food company, and the food would actually store for 25 years. It was a good company. And I had a deal where you could actually give away meals to people. And I thought that was awesome. What a great way to help people than feed people. One of the mentors I have in my life is Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins. Just finished his book, Money, the 7 Steps to Mastering the Game of Money recently. And I learned a lot about his foundation, about how he's giving away literally millions of Thanksgiving dinners every year. And that's a very admirable thing. That's an incredible thing to be able to feed 2 or 3 million families for Thanksgiving, or at particular points, right? So I got started with that company, and the problem is I didn't know how to market. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have a system to help me. And I had done some internet marketing in the past, and I'd had a little bit of success. I had tried blogging before. I actually had several domains, because I was, hopping from deal to deal of the ClickBank products and buying all this info products of, those click button systems, right? That promised me the push button results. But then when you do it, it doesn't actually deliver, because by the time you get it, it's so saturated that it just didn't really work for me. And maybe I didn't work for it is probably the more accurate term, because that's kind of how I had done all of the businesses I've tried in my life. I've tried several different things. Like I said, that entrepreneur bug. There was a point when I had a phone card business in Las Vegas. I had over 60 stores that I would go around to once a week and restock my phone cards with them, and it was a huge pain in the butt. And I didn't. That company went out of business, and I didn't really follow through. I'm sure I could have had more success if I knew then what I know today. If I would have been able to hold myself accountable for my own actions, if I would have been honest in saying that, it wasn't the business, it was me. And that's a lot of building belief is understanding that your success and your failure are really dependent on you. It's not really dependent on the business, because there's lots and lots of good businesses out there with very, very successful people. So if there's even one successful person, it proves that it can be done, right? So if I can't duplicate that it must be something that I'm doing, right? We have to be honest. We have to understand that we have to learn. It's a learning process to learn how to become successful, learn how to allow success into our lives, because we hear all the time, right, of the people winning the lotteries, and then in a short time they're actually even in a worse position than they were before they won the lottery. And so you have to be ready for success. You have to be ready for it to enter your life. And if you're mentally beating yourself up, if you're finding excuses, if you're holding yourself back because of past limiting beliefs, then how can you allow more abundance into your life? It's part of what I do, part of our business. Sure, the blog and the marketing system, but the real thing is personal development. So what I'm going to teach you tonight, what I want to share with you now, is I'm going to go ahead and jump into the content now that I've shared a little bit about myself and where I've come from and how I got here. And there's 3 things specifically that I did that you can do that can have a dramatic impact on your life. I mean, it can literally change everything. It can take you from wherever you are right now to wherever you want to be. And that's step number 1, is you've got to have a clear purpose. You have to get clear on what you actually want. Now, you can't just say, hey, I want to make more money, because that's just like saying I don't want to make any money. You need to have a specific amount in your mind by a specific date. 90-day goals are good, right? Here, I mentioned the goal word. I did. I don't know. You hear that everywhere, right? And the fact is 95% of people don't make goals, and that's why 95% of the people struggle. It's serious, having a clear purpose, having a defined purpose that you're wanting to achieve is your roadmap. If you don't know where you're going, how in the world are you going to get there? I mean, let's say you were going to go on a road trip, right? We've got our GPS systems on our phones now, right? But if we don't get on our GPS and punch in where we want to go, then it's useless. Then that map is useless. Then if you're just driving and you're just aimlessly driving, the chances of you getting to your destination, if you've never been there, are slim to none, right? And that's the purpose of goals. That's the purpose of having a clearly defined outcome. So first thing, set a definite goal. Maybe it doesn't even have to be financial. It could be it could be related to a job. It could be related to as something like even a TV. Let's say you wanted a flat screen TV. Be specific. In 90 days, on this day, in 90 days, I am going to have in my possession this, and this is how I'm going to get it. A book I highly recommend is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, because he gives us, he literally writes it out for us, a major definite purpose. Let's see if we can focus. Here's mine. Okay, by the first day of August 2015, I will have in my possession $10,000 a month in income, which will come to me in various amounts from time to time during the interim. In exchange for this money, I will give the most efficient service of which I am capable, rendering the fullest possible quantity, best possible quality of service in the capacity of a business owner, mentor, and coach. I believe I will have this money in my possession. My faith is so strong that I can now see the money before my eyes. I can touch it with my hands. I am now waiting transfer to it in the time and in the proportion I deliver the services I intend to render for it. I'm awaiting further plans by which to accumulate that money, and I will follow those plans as they are received. That's my 90-day goal my 90-day goal that I'm working on right now. See how clear that is? It's defined by a date and an amount and what I'm going to do for it. Get clear on what you want. That's step 1. Step 2, I mentioned Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. Pick up some books, my friend. There is literally nothing I can attribute more to the change that I've had in my life, to the personal development I've had and experienced, other than reading books. In the past 3 years, I've read Think and Grow Rich 29 times. I read it over and over. I get on a daily mindset call that we read it, and the book has changed my life. In the past 3 years, I've read probably close to 60 books. I lost count. I don't even know I actually read an entire book today, The Laws of Influence by um, Brad. His last name's escaping me right now. I'll get back to that on you or for you. But what's the problem with reading? You know, why is it that, you know, we go through our elementary school and we go through school, and then a majority of us, myself included, once I got out of school, there's a huge period of time that I never picked up books. I never read. And it's so important. And, you know, in this day and age, we've got digital access to everything. Once again, I can use the phone, right? We can watch YouTubes, we can watch movies from our phone. And it comes to us like that, just in a flash, right? So the problem I had with reading was that I did it so slow. I actually got on my phone because, I mean, gosh, it's everything you can need to achieve your goals is in your hand if you have a smartphone, right? So I downloaded a speed reading app and it gave a little test, and I found out that I only read at 200 words a minute, and that's pretty slow, you know. If I were to grab a standard book, I don't know if this one's a good example. So this book here, another one I highly recommend, but there's probably, I don't know, that's kind of big fonts. There's probably like 200 words on that page, maybe 300. So if it takes you literally a minute to read one page of a book, that's very slow. And it's also how we're taught to read, right? We're taught phonetically to read one word at a time. Just as you will need more than one skill for the 21st century workplace, you will likely need more language, right? But when you learn how to speed read, or when you learn how to improve your reading capacity and ability, you don't read one word at a time. You read blocks of words at a time, 3, 5, maybe you read half the page at a time, half the line. And then all of a sudden, when you improve your reading, last time I did the test, I was reading it at 480 words a minute. Now I'm reading, you know, in a book like that, 2 or 3 pages in 1 minute. I read this entire book in about 30 minutes one afternoon. All of a sudden, it becomes more like a movie. The pictures flow, the 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 scenery develops inside your mind. And here's the other reason why reading is so important, and why it's so much different than watching it an audio, or I mean watching a video, is that when you're reading, you're having an internal dialogue with the author. Your mind is thinking about it. You're taking that information, and you're having a conversation. So it's much more of a process, much more of an internal process than when you watch something, right? The next closest thing is listening to audio, and that's, you know, that's the second part of part 2 of step 2 here, is that I know that time is limited. I know you're busy. I know you've got family. I know you've got obligations. We all do, right? Uh, um, I've got Audible on my phone as well. I'm going to reference the phone again, and I have several books that I listen to on my phone. It's your subconscious mind cannot identify the difference between you sitting in a room with somebody or listening to that audio. So if you get the book, like I mentioned, Tony Robbins' book, and you listen to it, your subconscious mind does not know that Tony's not in the room with you. You're still taking that information in. It's just like having a conversation. So read and listen to audio. I mean, those two things will change your life more than I can describe. Think about it. We can pick up a book, and in a couple hours, or maybe if it takes you a couple of days to get through it, you know, and if you only get a few minutes a day of reading, you can literally get a lifetime of experience in just a short period of time. You can learn how people started from nothing. You know, Jim Rohn, the author of the book of this here, started as as milking cows, and went on to give over 6,000 lectures in his career of teaching the philosophies of success. We can learn about so much of a person, of how people can start in way worse positions than I was in. I mean, no matter how bad you think it is right now, keep a perspective of the world. Keep a perspective of how good we have it to live in this country, how good we have it to be able to get online and watch a video online and communicate across the world. And when you do that, when you take those experiences, maybe you don't have to make those same mistakes that they made, right? And that's invaluable. There's so much that could be said about reading. So step number 3 to taking back your life, to taking back control, is find an outlet. When I was out there on that bench and not knowing what to do with those emotions, I needed a way to let it go. Even talking about it with somebody helps, but a creative outlet is even more powerful. As I mentioned, I was in that food business, and um, I was kind of plodding away at it a little bit. I was trying to figure it out. And one day I was working, I was doing the drafting, and I got a phone call. My phone rang, and it was one of those robocalls. And on the other line is this peppy dude. It was probably a robot. It wasn't even a real person, right? And it said, hey, if you want to make $500 a day, go to this, blah, 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 blah. And I jotted the website down. I had a little piece of paper, and I was like, whatever. Because I'd put my email address into so many different things, just like, you put your email address in looking for more information about blogging, looking for more information about internet marketing systems, or whatever one of my websites that led you here today. Right? I did that myself several times, put my name and email address in somewhere. So that's how I probably got that phone call. And as the day went on, that little scrap of piece of paper just got bigger and bigger. I mean, all of a sudden, it was like a billboard in front of me. And so I had to go to the website. I had to find out what it was all about. And I typed in the web address, and a few minutes later, I'm watching a video. And there's this kind of crazy looking guy. And there was actually a couple steps that got me to this point, but those are irrelevant. What was relevant was watching this guy cast a vision in the future. And he wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before. He wasn't in a suit and tie. For a matter of fact, he was in a tank top and shorts. He wasn't all clean cut. He had long curly hair, and he did this weird thing with his forehead all the time. As he's talking, his eyes are getting real big, and he's doing this weird thing. But there was something about what he was saying. He was talking about the problems that I was facing, the problems that I'd faced in the past of trying to build a business, of trying to work on personal development with little results and little to show for it. And he started painting this picture that there is a better way, that there are steps we can take that when we take them in a certain order can achieve results. It's almost like a scientific formula, because actually success is a scientific formula. There really is a formula to it. And as I watched, I could see myself as part of that vision. I could see how I could make a much bigger difference by aligning myself with him. And the product was basically irrelevant. I didn't even know what it was. I mean, I had no idea. And it wasn't really till the end that I realized that it was for a blogging system. And it's the same blogging system that almost 3 years later that I'm still using. So I joined, and there was another product, the Inner Circle is what it was called, and it was a mindset product. It was personal development. It was audios, because audios are powerful. I mean, Zig Ziglar talks about turning your car into a university on wheels, right? I mean, think about it. If you listen to, let's say your commute is an hour a day, and you get that time, you could literally get like a semester of college in 1 year of just driving back and forth to work, listening to audios. So I got that product too, because I was going to get something anyways. I had been looking at some other stuff, and I figured, you know what? Not only can I learn, but with that I can earn. I mean, that's a win-win, right? So I got that. And there I was on the bench, totally lost and needing an outlet. The step 3, the one that it was critical to helping me get through, and critical to allowing me to let go of what was going on, and could be your outlet too. and that was the blog. When I first got started, my real intention was just to let it out. Some of my first blog posts were complete metaphors and stories that I just totally made up, just to let things out. I had spent so much of my life bottling things up that I really didn't know how to release the stuff. And it helped. And not only did it help, but people started seeing my blog posts. People started joining and blogging as well. And I realized that, man, this is a way I can help people. And I ended up quitting that food company because, well, a few reasons. I mean, I knew I could have a bigger impact using the blogging system. And to be honest, the commissions with the blogging system were way, way more. So if I was going to do it, and of course I have personal goals. I read you my goal. And my goals are for specific reasons to help get me and my family to where we really want to be. I'm still out here in the shop in Shawnee, and very blessed to be here. And I'm coming to you from, it's actually the attic above my apartment. And it's not ours, though. It's my in-laws. And they're gracious enough to allow us to use this as a space for my family right now. But I want more for my family, don't you? Isn't your family worth more than whatever you're settling for right now? I know mine is. That's why I don't settle. That's why I take time to share and make those videos. And that wasn't natural for me. The first times I made videos, they were awful. I mean, awful. I was very monotone, and I talked like this, and I really didn't put any emotion into it, and it was bad. Okay, it was really, really bad. First time I did a live hangout, the first time I did one of these Google Hangouts, and I remember hitting the record button. My legs were shaking. I was sweating. I was terrified, but I got through it, and I did it again. And I did it again. Got out my phone, made a video. They were awful in the beginning, but I keep doing it. I think they're getting better. I hope they're getting better. I know it's made a difference for me in self-confidence. It's made a difference for me in my ability to communicate and put my thoughts into spoken words. And how has this all made a difference for me? How has this transformed my life? I told you in the email that I'd share with you how an introverted draftsman, because I grew up very shy. I mean, I was the wallflower. I was the very introverted person. Video games, at home in the dark room, in the dark office, that was actually fine with me. As far as a job went, as far as that part of my life. But once I realized that I needed to make a bigger difference, once I realized that there was more, that just wasn't going to work for me anymore. Being that way, living that recluded type, I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know, but it wasn't going to work anymore. I had to change. Something I learned from Robert Kiyosaki was about being a salesman. And regardless of what you think of the word salesman, I want you to realize that we're all in the business of sales. Every single day you are selling something, I promise you. Whether you're selling your kids to go to bed, whether you're selling yourself at the job interview, whether you're selling yourself to the boss. I mean, if you want an example, just stop selling. Stop doing your job tomorrow. And it probably won't be long before you realize that it is part of your life. But also, we hear over and over that, the greatest wealth in the world is created by salespeople, right? Because you get to write your own paycheck. You get to put things in your own hands and not be dependent on an hourly wage. So I've tried sales before. When I first moved to Oklahoma a few years ago, I was working for a windows and siding company. That's where I got my first experience in outdoor sales. And you want to talk about awful. I mean, I would much rather just sit here in my office and speak to you over a camera any day than driving down to little towns in Oklahoma where people's houses are sunk on both sides, and the foundation is so messed up that they can't even open the front door, and then sit there for 4 hours trying to pitch them new windows. I mean, it was really, really awful. And not that not that those type of sales jobs are awful, because I know it's a value. I know that people need windows, people need siding, and the product was good. It was just the process. It was so unnatural to me. It was so um, outside my comfort zone that there was no way I was going to have success doing it, because I didn't have belief in myself. I had no sales training, no personal development, nothing that would really, give me the stable foundation to do that. So I ended up back in the drafting room, but I wanted to do sales. I wanted to have a bigger impact out there. And so today, that's what I do. I'm a sign salesman. I work independently. I create my own schedule. I work on my own time. And I work with a local company who builds the signs. And I love what I do. In correlation, my two parts of my business is during the day, during normal business hours, I'm working with business owners. I'm helping them to improve their image. There's a saying in the sign business: a business without a sign is a sign of no business. It's that important. If you're a local business owner, if you have a shop or a more brick and mortar type business and you don't have a sign, it won't be long before you don't have a business. I mean, it really is that serious. So I love the idea that I design the signs as well. From all those years of drafting, I've learned how to use some programs. So it's so awesome that something goes from my computer screen up onto a building. It's so rewarding. And I know what it's going to do for that company. I know what it's going to do for that business. And it's one of my passions. And then in the evening, after I've spent some time with my family, or even during the day, a lot of times I'll just stop somewhere at the lake that's down the street and take a little walk, get a little exercise, and I'll shoot a quick video. And then at night, after I've spent some time with the family and after the kids have gone off to bed, I put it on a blog post and share with you, share with people that are looking for another way, looking for a way to create a passive income, a residual income, a pipeline income, and I can't guarantee results because I really don't know what you'll do with the information. What I can guarantee you, though, is that if you plug in and apply what we teach you, it will make a difference in your life. I've been able to completely transform my life. I'm not dependent on a paycheck today. I provide value to the marketplace, and in returns, I'm paid commissions back for what the service I render. So I wouldn't have been able to do this though without the blog. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, as crazy as it seems, but creating those videos that I shoot, those short videos, gives me the self-confidence to go out and sell. It gives me the ability to know that I can communicate with people. The personal development, the reading, that some of our core philosophies of the business are to read daily and listen to audio daily. I've talked about that, right? And without that personal development, I wouldn't be able to, once again, the confidence and the ability to communicate. And these are so important in our life. Having confidence and being able to communicate with people, it will change your life developing those skills alone. And there's a few laws of success. If we study Napoleon Hill even more and his laws of success, there's actually 15 laws of success. And I'll share that another time. But you know, communication is very, very important. So, I know that you're busy. I know that you've got a lot on your plate right now. And I know that you're looking for something. If you're still watching this, I mean, obviously there's something of interest here, right? There's something that maybe you're seeing, maybe you're wondering, what is this all about? What does this really have to do with the emails I get, with the videos that he shares on the blog? And recently, that the mentor that I was telling you about, the crazy haired guy, he cast an even larger vision. He's in this. with this blogging system that I'm sharing and that I've talked to you about, he's created a vision, and he's going to make it happen. This guy he's one of those type of people that when he says he's going to do something, he just does it. And even if he doesn't know how, he's very confident. And so far, everything that I've heard him say has become reality. He's cast this vision of creating 100 millionaires a year. I know I wanted to let that sink in for a little bit, because that's big, isn't it? It's almost like unbelievable. 100 millionaires a year blogging. How could that even be possible? Well, it is. With the systems, the marketing system, and the products, the personal development products, it really is. But that's a big, big goal, right? And I can't say that I'm going to go out and create 100 millionaires a year. I've had success. I've created a few people that have also, or not created, but I've helped other people have some success. I've had a couple team members have multiple $1,000 days using the blog system. I've had multiple $1,000 days, single day, using this blog system. I know it's possible. So I wanted to stretch a little. I couldn't stretch quite that big, but I can still build my vision within his greater vision. And recently, I got real clear. I decided, I've been doing this for almost 3 years, and I've been doing this linear. I've been treating this like a product. For the first 50 people I brought into the business, I didn't even call them. I didn't even reach out to them to help mentor them or be there for them. And that changed. In fact, I'll get to it in a second. But so I was treating it just like one of those ClickBank products, just like one of those affiliate products. I was going straight for the commission. And then I'd wonder why they'd quit. I'd wonder why a month later or 2 months later, some stuck around for a few months, but I'd wonder, I'd be surprised when they quit, when I never reached out to them. So I made that change. I definitely reach out now and let my new members or new customers know that I'm here, because honestly, without helping you to succeed, I will never achieve my goal. That goal I read to you earlier. If I don't help you achieve a certain goal of your own, I can never expect anything more. So that's when I started thinking about, what's a vision that I can do? What's something I can do that I know I can do, that I have the ability right now, I have the tools right now, the resources right now. And it came to me. The 33K30 Freedom Movement. That's what I'm calling it. It's my own little plan I've come up with, that I'm going to help 30 people, 30 families start earning $3,000 every 30 days. And it can be done. And here's the awesome thing, is I'm not talking about going out and selling hundreds of blogs. I'm not talking about going out and recruiting hundreds of people. This can literally be done by recruiting, by helping one person a month that is motivated, that is inspired by what you're doing, by the actions you're taking, to get all in. And it's possible. One a month to make that. Not only do I want to help 30 people, but I want to help you to help people. Right now, somebody is struggling. They're going through the same thing you're going through. Right now, somebody needs to hear what you have to share. Right now, somebody out there is looking for a better way, and you have the potential to show them. But first, you have to be the one that takes action. You're the one that has to develop belief. And it may take time. Like I mentioned, it's been almost 3 years for me. It took me time. It took me time to believe. I want to share a metaphor with you. There's a certain type of bamboo that when it's planted, it does not grow out of the ground for 5 years. You gotta water it every day. You gotta make sure the ground has the nutrients. But for 5 years, there's no sign of it growing. There's no sign of success. Its roots are digging deep, spreading out wide. And then after that 5 years, there's been cases of that bamboo growing 8 feet overnight. Think about that. Growing 60 feet tall in the same in a one season, in one growing season. But for 5 years there was no sign. For 5 years there wasn't even a sprout out of the ground. Some people would have thought it's not growing. It's dead. My time's wasted. My efforts have been futile. And then one day, bam, the reward's there. So it might take time. It might take 3 months. It might take 6 months. It might take 3 years. Hell, if it takes 6 years, wouldn't it be worth it? You either, we've got the 40-40-40 plan, work 40 hours a week for 40 years to live on 40% of our income. That's plan sounds pretty shitty to me. If you ask me, I would much rather have done these past 3 years that I've done to get where I'm going now. My life is completely different today because I made a simple decision. You can make a decision today too. There's a link right below this video. You can click it, and that's our marketing system. Inside that marketing system, we're going to show you exactly how to go from zero to making money, to profiting. Inside that system, there's a series of videos. You have to watch the videos to unlock it and move to the next one. But after you go through the first couple videos, you'll unlock one of the most awesome, incredible, I mean, just I can't even put the amount of value that is this option for you. And that's to have a personal success coach. That's right, a real person. And I'll be here too. I promise. I'll reach out to you and I'll offer my support and everything. But they're certified success coaches. And isn't that what this world's missing? Is that personal touch? Isn't that what all those other businesses and affiliate programs and everything else is? You're just kind of on your own, right? Not here. Not only do you get a coach, you get an entire team of people. We meet on Wednesday nights. And for those dedicated people that are all in, I'm all in myself, and I own all the products. I'm fully leveraged to make the maximum amount I possibly can with this business. Every Friday, we've got an all-in meeting, and a hangout. You can be done on, once again, the phone. We got an app. You get on there. Yes, last night, every Wednesday night, we have a general team that's for everybody. There was over 80 people on the hangout last night. On Fridays, we've got the all-in, and then on Saturdays, we've got another team. And on these hangouts, first off, we go through the setup. Here's what you do: 1, 2, 3. I mean, step by step. We show you exactly what you need to do to get going. We point you to the 30-day plan. It's literally broke down day by day. 30 days. You start on day 1, you follow the directions. You go to day 2, you follow the directions. You go to day 3, you follow the directions. By day 30, you will know everything you need to know about how to make this work for you. And then you just stay close to the campfire, as Michael calls it. Right? You get on the team calls so you don't feel left alone. What happens when you're out camping and you wander off from the fire at night? A couple things. Well, it gets dark, right? And it gets cold, and you're all by yourself. So you got to stay close. And once you plug in, make a decision. Don't be a tire kicker. I've seen so many people come and go that were just kicking the tire. So many people that, oh, this doesn't work for me. I put up my first blog post and I didn't get any commissions and nothing. I mean, come on. It takes a little bit of time. It takes work. It takes effort. It takes belief. It takes getting out of your comfort zone. It takes willing to empty your cup and allow some people to fill it. Maybe some people that have the life that you want. My personal sponsor He's a $1 million earner with this system. So, I mean, join with me tonight, and you're literally 2 degrees away from somebody who's made $1 million with this exact system that I'm showing you. And not not to mention the ability to earn is the ability to grow, the ability to change your life, the ability to transform everything that you know now into what you want it to be. It's time to delete those negative programs. It's time to delete those viruses. It's time to do a little brainwashing, right? Every once in a while, we need a good brainwashing. And this isn't a good way. This is the kind of thing that it's the difference that makes the difference. But all it takes is a decision. That's where it starts, as a decision that, yes, I want more. Yes, my life is worth it. Yes, my children are worth it. Yes, my future is worth it. Yes, Jeff, I'm going to click the link below and I'm going to get started tonight. My friends, have a wonderful night, and I will see you next time. My name is Jeff Burchell. Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you inside.